we are going to try this again. Take 3. So far, seen excellent condition. We are connected here. Awesome. So we're here for the DFS NASCAR Raceday show, Toyota Owners 400. I'm Chris Terrell. I'm here for DFSR.com, Rotopros.com, as well as my own Patreon, patreon.com/JagerBombs. I'm just going to share this so we can get some people in here, and then we will get going here just shortly, talking some NASCAR. Like I was saying before, winter is back here in Saskatchewan. Oh, a verification here. And then we're going to jump in and talk here. I'm just going to share this Facebook, Twitter, all of the other accounts here. Then we'll talk some DFS, some betting, who I like, we don't like, and we'll just kind of roll with the flow, see how things are going. If you guys got questions, throw them in chat, as usual. Morning, James. How's it going? Who do you have as a winner today? Just getting this pasted here, and we will rock and roll. So many places to share it. Sorry for all the issues here this morning. Internet updates just at the absolute worst time. It's just the worst. So I'm just going to make sure everyone's in here because of I had to restart here a few times. So we'll see how that goes. Wait for a few people to message me if you can see this, if you're hearing me, if you're seeing me, if you're having any issues at all. Just type something in chat, let me know, say good morning, whatever it may be, and we'll get started here shortly. Make sure the errors are gone. Can't use my Starlink today, like I said before, because it is going through updates, and I'm literally seeing red on connection with it the whole time. That's where the original issue came from. So I am on just tethering or hotspot or whatever you want to call it off my phone. Just sharing it in the last couple places here, and then we will get started. Just gonna go over and check. Okay, we got some people typing here. Bergie, Jimmy, BVB09. Good morning. Hello, everyone. Okay, so we do have everyone here. I've shared it on Twitter. I've shared it on Facebook. I believe, shared it in all the chats now. I have shared it on Patreon. Show Toyota Owners 400. So we're in Richmond. We've got a short track. We've got short flat. We're kind of in that track type history again. We're going to look at that here in a second. Always a pretty good race weekend. We're going to look, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to look at, why won't this publish here? Add a title. Well, that would help, wouldn't it? I'm just a little behind this morning. Sorry you guys all have to see this. Hey, we do what we got to do. I wasn't even going to do the show because of this stupid internet update, but it looks like we're grinding away. So I got one more spot to share it, and then we are good to go here. That is just the title. Gibbs car will win. Yeah, Toyotas have been fast. Like, I'm going to jump into it here, but Kyle Busch, if you could look at the bottom here at the scroll, you'll see, like, in terms of average finish over the last 5 races, 2.5 years, Kyle Busch has been dominant, 3.6. Martin Truex, 4.2. Average finish. That's average finishes inside the top 5 over a 5-race sample size. That's absolutely awesome. So we love to see that. I just have to sign into my YouTube account so I can actually reply to you guys. Don't know what this is. A suspicious app might have. Oh, YouTube. Okay, use your camera app on phone to scan this QR code. What the heck is going on here? This is the most adventurous Sunday morning show I think I've ever done. Making me secure my YouTube account by scanning a barcode, and now I'm on my phone. Yes, it is me. Let me log in. So what we're going to look at is a little bit of short flat, a little bit of season, something I added to the sheet I have here for in terms of the sheet that we're going to look at. I've added some stuff looking at just the last 6 races. So I took out Daytona and Daytona Road Course just to kind of get a little bit of a perspective on how guys are running since those opening races at Daytona. So we're going to look at that. I'm going to flip things over here right now, actually, and we will start. Nope, not that one. Boom. We're going to look at some DK builds here in a minute as well. All right, it's just trying to get me signed in, so it's going to reload the page. There we go. Okay, so we're going to go back and look at last year's race at Richmond in 2020 and see how that turned out. First of all, once the sheet loads, can't even click another tab at the moment. This is just absolutely crazy. So first of all, you're looking at the price in here. We've got Martin Truex at 11.4. I really like that price. He is top 3 in 4 straight races here. He's starting from the pole. So in terms of dominators, which we're going to look at here, how I'm breaking down dominators. Last race, we had 2 drivers lead 100 plus. One other trend that I have been tracking here leading into the video today is where all of the laps led come from. As you can see here in 2020, Keselowski led 192 from the 9th position, Logano 45 from 2nd, Dillon 55 from 3rd, Kevin Harvick led 41 from the pole off the start of the race, and then Denny Hamlin and Kurt Busch 7th and 8th both had 45 and 15 laps led. So all the laps led outside of these guys. Chase Elliott with 2 laps led, and Brendan Poole, who had 1, obviously was a green flag pit stop where he stayed out and got a lap led there. We've got all the laps led coming from top 10. Going down and looking at the correlation, we got 0.862, which is extremely high. That could be one of the highest ones that we have seen so far this season, looking at the races from last year that didn't have that practice and qualifying. So very high correlation there. Lukewarm coffee. That's excellent on Sunday morning. And then as we see, in terms of where the top 10 finishers came from, 4 came from the top 5, 3 more from 6th to 10th, and then 3 more from 11th to 15th. So again, very high correlation of starting up front and finishing up front. Drivers with laps led. So we had 1 driver lead 100 plus. That was Keselowski. We had 2 lead 50 plus. That would be Keselowski and Austin Dillon. Logano was close at 45. So was Hamlin back here at 45. And 5 drivers lead 20 plus. Going and looking at 2019, the 2 races in 2019 here at Richmond when we had practice and qualifying, Truex swept starting from 8th and 5th. He led 109 and 186 laps in those 2 races. Kyle Busch finished 2nd with 202. Joey Logano finished 2nd in the first race in 2019 and led 52. Again, when we start breaking this down, looking at the laps led leaders, they're coming from the top 10 starting positions. For this alone, I'll talk about Brad Keselowski as the most expensive driver here in a second. The second race in the playoffs was a 0.754 correlation. Again, very high. 4 drivers from the top 5 finished top 10, 2 more from 6th to 10th, 2 more from 11th to 15th. In this race, there was 2 from 16th to 20th. We had 1 driver in the first race in 2019 come from 25th to 30th and 1 come from 21st to 25th. But it's pretty much even with practice and qualifying versus the 2020 race without practice and qualifying. We do see a very high correlation of starting up front and finishing there, whether there's practice and qualifying or not. We also see in terms of your dominator drivers, we're seeing those come from the top 10 starting positions and not necessarily from the pole. But this week, I'll go over to my projections here for laps led. Martin Truex Jr. is number 1 for me. He's starting from the pole. He's been absolutely dominant at this track. I could see a scenario where he leads 200 plus laps here, over 50% of the laps. But just for my projection standpoint, I've got 2 drivers leading 100 plus today, and then probably 2 more. I think I've got the set rate at 400 as of now, 350. So I got 50 more laps to distribute. But generally, I'm looking at Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano up second as a second driver to lead 100 plus. But it's very close between Larson, Hamlin, Truex, and Logano for me. These 4 drivers, even Kyle Busch as an outside shot at leading some laps. Like I said, he has the best average finish over the last 5 races here. We'll go look at that. Kyle Busch, starting 10th, 6th, 2nd, 8th. He won 2 in a row. ninth, second. So even over the long term, he's been very, very good. He's averaged right around a top 5 for about 4 or 5, 6 years here at this track. So definitely like him. He hasn't the only problem with him, same stories every week, is he hasn't shown to be a dominator yet this season. That could keep him a little bit lower owned with guys like Larson, Logano, Hamlin, and Truex above him, even though he's starting 10th and gives you that little bit more place differential. I think the laps led could really boost him up there, and especially if he's going to be low owned. Like looking, if you want to break down ownership, I think Keselowski, just because he's starting 20th, he's had really good track history here. You get that place differential. I think he's going to take on some ownership for sure. Truex is probably the highest owned, probably Hamlin, and then Logano, and then it's either going to be Kyle Busch or Kyle Larson, in my opinion. And Keselowski is going to probably be up there, probably in that range too. And me personally, I'm always trying to find, what do we have here? 6 drivers this week, 10K and up on DraftKings. I am generally trying to pick out 2 that I'm going to be heavy on, 2 more that I'm going to be, like secondary, and probably 2 that I'm going to fade this week with 6 drivers in that price range. You can even lump Elliott and Harvick into there, even Ryan Blaney if you want to go out to 9 drivers, 9K and up, just kind of like your top tier when breaking down your lineup construction. So you don't have to agree with the drivers that I like. You don't have to agree with the drivers that I think are going to lead. You don't got to agree with the way I'm looking at things, because you're probably not going to agree with what I'm going to say next. I am fading Keselowski. I was on him early in the week, starting 20th. But once I started breaking down the stuff that we just talked about, looking at the last 10 races, the laps leaders are coming from a top 10 position. My thinking behind this is, when you have a good car, or any car really, that's trying to come through the field outside the top 20 starting positions, even outside the top 15 at a short, flat track, a little bit hard on, tires, coming through the field like that, you're driving that car really hard, pushing it hard, trying to get through. And then, once you get, say Keselowski starting 20th, once he gets up inside that top 15, 10th to 15th, trying to break into that top 10, he's now up against cars that are just as good or better than him. If he's got the best car, great. He's probably going to work his way up at least to the top 5, but getting those laps led, I think, is going to be tough. We haven't seen it happen, at least over the last 3 or 4 races. Guys lead a sizable amount of laps that are starting outside the top 20. So I'm just not seeing him getting those points. So if I don't have him for any laps led here, or any fast laps, let's even just give him 20 fast laps just to say, he's good here. He knows how to drive the course. We've got 73 points there if he doesn't lead any laps. And he's at 12,000. So we're looking at 73 divided by 12. We're looking at about 6x max upside. I don't think he's going to, get 20 projected fast laps either. So if he doesn't get that, if he doesn't get any fast laps, any laps led, you're looking at 64 divided by 12 now. You're looking at 5.3x. To win a GP cash games, I think you could probably get away with that if he wins. Doesn't, if he jumps up to the win final lap or something like that, doesn't lead any, I think that's great. If you think he leads laps, he's most definitely a core play for you today, because even at, say, 50 laps led, say he comes on in the final stage, finally gets up front, has a caution, leads the final 50 laps of the race, gives you 20 lap or fast laps, 50 laps led, he's giving you 85 with that place differential. So 85 and a half points, divide that by 12. You're looking at 7x. I think that's totally fine. That upside is there. I just don't see it. I see Truex and 2 of these guys dominating and kind of getting up there in points. So that's kind of the way I'm breaking down the top tier today. But yeah, going back to just my general overall point of, okay, I'm just logging in here one more time so I can actually answer these questions in chat. YouTube is being such a pain today. So what I mean here, what I'm trying to get at here is, when you look at this top tier and when you're breaking down your player pool, like I said, you don't have to agree with my analysis. You don't have to agree with my picks, but the way I'm looking at it and building my 20 max every week and breaking down and getting my player pools, quite small, not looking at 20, 25 drivers in that player pool, looking at like 12 to 15 drivers in that player pool, and really building a core of, say, you like Truex and Harvick today, which I do like Harvick starting 9th. He's been solid here. If he doesn't lead any laps at all, we get 5x at like 4th place. So I will most definitely take that, because he's got winning upside. He could definitely be a dominator in there as well, giving you, 7, 8x upside. Just Harvick in that $9,400 price range on this track. If we go back and look here, 7th, 8th, 4th, 2nd, 5th, 1 finish outside the top 10, then 5th, 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 14th. So he is absolutely solid here. Again, he's cheaper than Kyle Busch. They've had about, similar starts. Harvick's been a lot more solid in terms of average finish, actually. We go look here. This is the season form tab on the sheet. I'm going to add this once we are done. It'll be going into next week as well. So just looking overall in the season in terms of average finish, we've got Harvick third overall at 7.3. He is second with Larson and Byron in terms of top 10s with 6, and he has finished in the top 20. He's only one of 3 drivers to finish inside the top 20 in all 8 races. And would you believe that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is one of those drivers? I would not. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the chat here now that I'm logged in, make sure I didn't miss anything. Thank you all for tuning in here. See, we got a good group of people in here today. Large amount is what I meant. 38 here right now watching live. Thank you very much, everyone. Good morning. Cheers. Cheersing with coffee this morning, and it's now gone past lukewarm, and it's pretty much cold. Much needed, though. Very much needed. So what else I added this week to that tab, this is only on my sheet as of now, I'm going to add it after this, is I want to look at average finish over the last 6 races, which eliminates scroll over, looking at these races like this, it eliminates the Daytona Road Course and the Daytona 500 in there, which I think is some pretty good data in here as well, at least to compare across the board and see how guys are doing. Denny Hamlin, just awesome everywhere. Looking at his races, third, fourth. He's clearly been the most consistent driver this season and still doesn't have a win. That is just absolutely amazing. 7 top 5s and no wins yet. He's led the most laps this season. Just absolutely crazy. Backs it up with an average run of 5.5. Again, Ricky Stenhouse stands out here. He has got the 8th best average finish over the last 6 races. Actually, 7th best, tied with Kevin Harvick there at 10.8. Go look at the average run. They kind of back that up a little bit. They're maybe running a little bit hot, you could say, running 13.7, 14.5 in terms of average run. Neither of them have led laps, so that's a little concerning there. Again, Kyle Busch not leading a bunch of laps. So this is kind of something that I look at for trends for dominators. When I pick my dominators out, I want to make sure that they are trending. They do have a dominant car this season. Make sure maybe their teammates have been leading a bunch of laps. This is in terms of Kyle Busch. We've seen Martin Truex Jr. and Denny Hamlin lead. We haven't seen Kyle Busch dominate at all. This is a track where I think Kyle Busch could be a GPP play outside the top 5 in GPP ownership, I think, and could come and surprise today, get his first win, or at least dominate some laps and show us that. In terms of value, I think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. really stands out when looking at these last 6 races, even though he has 14.5 average run over that time. But looking at the price tag at 6,200, starting 14th is a little much. But if we go look at the matrix here, we're looking for about 30 points from him, which is about 13th, 14th. So if we're kind of looking for him to for our floor on him. If you're using him for cash games, which I do like if you're playing cash games, I don't personally play cash. He will be in my GPP core for sure because I see a floor of that 13th, 14th, kind of where he starts. If he finishes there, I think he doesn't kill your lineups whatsoever, and it's going to allow you to go up and get 2 of those top tier guys that we talked about. And I think he's also got top 10 upside. So, I mean, if we get 40 points out of him, that is great. I do see that, a floor of about 4.5 to 5x and an upside of about 6 to 7x. So I definitely like Stenhouse, and he backs it up just looking at the season data. I think he maybe be a little bit lower on because he's starting 14th and because people just always have that perception, Ricky Stenhouse or Ricky Spinhouse or however you want to twist it. But he's been driving very good so far this year, 10.8, like I said, over the last 6 and 12.6 over the season. That's really good. Like if we go and just look at the whole entire season, I know this includes Daytona in there, but he is 7th best average finish on the season. That's just absolutely incredible. But looking at where he started and where he's finished, that DK average is down a little bit just because he has been starting up a little bit. So that kind of takes me off. If you're building GPP, I wouldn't go heavy on Stenhouse just because his upside is a little bit limited, but I do like him. Ryan Newman, okay. Well, before you head to the garage and get ready for the race here, 7,000 is a really nice price. He is definitely in my player pool, or you, sorry, I mean you. Didn't have the greatest race here last year. I just want to go look that up and kind of see where his average run was. Bear with me. Started 21st, finished 23rd, average run of 20th. So he was pretty blah the whole entire race. He was, he's got a negative pass differential in that race. But before that race last year, he was 6th, 9th, 15th. So top 15s in 5 of 6 races, 4 of them being top 10. So I believe there is most definitely upside for Newman today. We'll go break it down on the matrix. We're looking for about 35 for that 5X kind of floor. That is about a 13th, 14th place finish. So he needs to gain about 5-6 spots, and we're looking good for that. And like I said, he's got top 10s in 4 of his last 7 races here, I guess it would be. Or 4 of his last 7, whatever. He's got top 10 upside, so I could see him definitely in that 6th to 10th range, which again is going to put you, where are we here? 43 to 51 points. So I like him in all formats today, starting 19th. For him, that 15th starting position is kind of that fringe where I'll start to look to fade him, but starting 19th with his experience on a tough track, I could see him easily gaining 5 spots and kind of finishing in that 15th position to give you that 5X, or 13th, 14th to give you that 5X. He could give you a few fast laps in there to kind of boost those 5X projections a little bit, but definitely like Ryan Newman. Inspections are going on now. I'm going to report on all inspections once the show's over. I can't manage too many more tabs. I know, James, you mentioned Cindric. That's a driver I wanted to talk about today. And it really all depends. On FanDuel, he's most definitely a lock at 6K. On DraftKings, I don't think it's just quite that easy at 8,600. If he was in the $7,000 range, I think it would be a little bit easier. But the fact that you've got all these guys above him, so let's just compare him to, say, Bowman. I just want to look on the season here. Oh, right. He was missing from the sheet on the season data tab. Starting 38th, it depends where you think he is going to finish. A lot of people are going to see him starting 38th and think, okay, that's a lock. I don't see much more than the 25th place finish. We are looking for about 42 points out of him just to hit 5X. That's inside the top 20. So you need a top 20 finish out of Cindric to be able to do that. I can easily go here and pick, I'm just going to highlight that many, another one. I've got 16 drivers right now, 17, 18. It's getting close. I've got 18 drivers that I have projected easily inside the top 20 ahead of Cindric, which he's going to need for him to hit his 5X or upside. If you think, wants to get up to a 15th place finish to really give you some upside, 6X upside, I just don't see a 15th happening unless these guys around him, your Bowman, Blaney, Harvick, Byron Busch, Almirola, DiBenedetto, Bell, Austin Dillon, Newman, Custer, all these guys. There's a lot of issues, a lot of crashes today, a lot of guys out that don't involve Cindric, and he somehow gets up inside that top 20. If that doesn't happen and we have a pretty clean, long green flag runs, not a lot of crashes and stuff like that, I don't see Cindric getting inside the top 20 myself. And if there's going to be ownership there, which I definitely think there's going to be, starting 38th at the back of the pack, I think that's going to be a fade for me today. I just see a lot of other drivers that can provide you more safety. They're in better equipment, and they can give you more upside. So especially in terms, I think Ryan Blaney could possibly lead some laps. Alex Bowman, for instance, we're looking for about the same 42 points, 42 to 45 point range. I feel a lot better about Alex Bowman finishing, let's say, 12th to 13th than I do Austin Cindric finishing 19th and 20th. Like, a lot more confident in Bowman finishing there in that 12th, 13th range versus Cindric in the 19th, 20th range. So for me, it's Bowman over Cindric, and it's quite easy. Again, if you think there's going to be carnage, you think a lot of guys are going to crash, Cindric's upside is huge. If he can get inside that top 15, he's giving you GPP winning upside with that score, just starting 38th with that place differential alone on DraftKings. So it all depends on what you think. If you think it's going to be carnage, great. I think it's going to be not carnage. I think there's going to be some cautions. There's going to be some spins and stuff, but I don't think there's going to be enough guys, enough good equipment ahead of Cindric to get him inside that top 20. And I think kind of his upside for me in the projection is around that 20th, 21st. And I don't want 5X for my guys, 8X and up when I'm playing GPP. I want 6, 7X kind of thing. So For me, I'm loading up with, I guess now I just want to dive into my just overall strategy here. Like I said, I'm looking for 2 drivers up top. So Martin Truex Jr., most definitely number 1 for me. I think he's going to lead a lot of laps. I think he's going to be the top dominator. So I'm going to pair him with, probably in a lot of my lineups, one other driver from this 94 and up range. And then I'm going to be diving down into the 7K range and below. Is kind of how my lineups are shaping up so far. I haven't actually built any. I'm going to build some with you here shortly. Um, Suarez a solid play. Okay, let's look at Suarez here. Starting 27th today, and he has been solid at this track. 29th last year, not great. We had some guys in there, but before that, he was 10th, 18th, 17th, 10th, 7th, 12th. Remember, with those races, however, he was in Gibbs equipment in some of them, so he was in a lot better equipment, but he has been running good this season. I 100% agree with you there. It's actually been awesome to track in that car. And at 6,600, averaging inside the top 20. Average run is a little bit better, so that's nice to see. He's actually led some laps, which has been crazy. Where were those laps led for him? Bristol dirt. Okay, so he got them on the dirt, so I'm not really putting anything into that, but I do like that his average run is better than his average finish by over a half spot. So that's awesome, and he's been giving you that 30 plus DK average. So it's 6,600. You're looking for 30 plus points, so that's awesome. So starting 27th, I do like anything kind of inside that top 25 is where I start. That's the line I kind of draw for Suarez and any of these kind of back guys here that say outside of Buescher and Stenhouse. Suarez. So we're looking for, like I said, about 30, 32 points. That's a 19th, 20th place finish. That is very solid. Daniel Suarez is most definitely in there. Briscoe, I think, has to be there as well. I'll probably have, pretty equal exposure to those two right there, split, starting at about the same spot. I think they're going to be about the same. Briscoe's in better equipment, so I think his upside is going to be a little bit better. But Suarez has been running better, so take your pick there. Custer, I like too, starting 21st. I think he can be solid here. GPP play, starting 8th. He's going to be super low on starting 8th, but Christopher Bell, I had it up here earlier, but I was looking at and breaking down some Richmond data from the Xfinity Series. Give me just a second. I'm going to bring that up here. Xfinity Series, all drivers. I'm going over and using racingreference.info. Absolutely amazing site. Richmond Raceway. No, that's Pocono. Spell better. Get rankings. All right. So looking at Christopher Bell here in the Xfinity Series, he won 3 of the last 4 races here at Richmond, 2019 and swept in 2018, was 16th in the other race. He started up front and led 32 laps in that race where he finished 16th as well. So he had a pretty good car. I'm not really sure what happened in that first 2019 race here, but he knows how to race this track. He's now in excellent equipment. 15th last year. I think he can build on that. I think he's got top 10 upside, and we're looking for about 39, 40 points out of him, just kind of as that 5X floor. And 5X I can take from a guy in the 7K range. So we're looking for about a 6th, 7th place finish. So kind of we need him to finish where he is or get up there and inside the top 5. I think that's a stretch, but I think it is possible for him with his experience here. Things could go right. He's in a Toyota, so he's getting that information from Truex, who's been absolutely amazing here. Kyle Busch, who's been amazing here. So I do like Bell. I think he's going to be low owned. He's going to be a pivot kind of in this range for me, just because of kind of going to this high 6, mid 6 range. Talked about Custer, Suarez, Briscoe. I do like Ryan Newman. So we talked about those 4 drivers right there. Probably going to be pretty equal on all 4 of those in that range. And then I'm going to have some pivots off to Buescher and Stenhouse just because they're starting up. I think they're going to be lower. My favorite value play of the week is Corey LaJoie, starting 36th at 5,700. If we go look at him here, he's been consistent for a driver in less equipment. 27th, 30th, 26th, 32nd, 29th, 32nd. So we're looking at like 25th to 30th is kind of the range we're looking at for him, starting 36th. I think that's definitely possible. That gives you 28 to 30 points at a 25th place finish. So definitely on board with that. I think I'll have probably about, I don't like going overexposure on these guys, say mid 7K and down. I'm really looking to spread out my exposure to these guys just because they're cheaper for a reason. There's a lot more risk involved with these guys and less equipment, less experience. smaller teams, smaller money going into these teams. So I only want, where I'll go, say maybe 50, 60% owned on Martin Truex Jr. in a 20 max build. Priest, I'm probably not, or sorry, Priest, LaJoy, your Briscoe, Suarez, Custer, Newman, I'm usually in that 25 to 40% range and no more than that. And when I'm building, if I have a core of, say, Martin Truex Jr. and Kevin Harvick together, and then I'm coming down here and grabbing 2 or 3 of these guys, I want to make sure that if I'm building 10 lineups around that Harvick Truex core, that I don't have, say, Newman, Suarez, and LaJoy in like 6 of those lineups together as 3 drivers. If you understand what I mean, I'll maybe go Truex, Harvick, Newman, and Suarez, and then I'll go Truex, Harvick, Newman, and LaJoy, Truex, Harvick, Suarez, and LaJoy, just to kind of spread it out, and then one with all 3 of them together. I just really want to spread that out, so one driver crashing, especially these high risk guys down here in the mid to low ranges, isn't going to end your day. And I've been finding not success every week in this, but I've been finding that my lineups aren't dead after one crash. Whereas I can, I'm still sweating something going into the final stage of the race and into the final portion of the race. So just really wanted to discuss some strategy stuff today in terms of lineup construction and how to go about doing that. Like I say, every single week this year, I'll be playing the 20 max, just trying to figure out the best ways to go ahead and build lineups. And even some weeks when you have absolutely perfect lineup construction, your exposures are spread out right, something can go wrong all the time. It could be a crash on lap 1. It could be a speeding penalty. It could be taken out by another driver. It could be rain, you name it. And so it doesn't matter. What you're really trying to do each and every week is just put yourself in the best position so that when things do go right and your core drivers that you have focused on, they're all doing good and they all finish top 5, and you get 2 of the dominators. You now have, in my 20 max at least, I now have with that core 10 lineups to try and get it perfect. And then with another core, I've got 10 more lineups, or however I do that. So normally I'll take my main core and build 10 lineups around it, and then I'll build 2 more cores and build 5 around them each. And it really all depends on the week and how many value drivers there are, and really how the player pool pans out, how qualifying looks, what track we're at, that sort of thing. So, okay, Tech, I'm just going to jump over onto the NASCAR news channel here and see if Bob has posted anything. Usually they say about an hour before, 60 to 90 minutes before the race starts, and I believe we got for lock today 1:13 my time, so 3:13 Eastern. So we're probably not going to see that until like 11:30 my time, 12. So it's going to be probably another hour and a half before we see any tech stuff coming in. They do stagger them because of the COVID protocols and stuff. So 90 to 120 minutes before the race. So yeah, we're looking at a little bit of a wait here on that, but I will provide that in my Patreon Slack chat and DFSR if anything comes up, as well over at Roto Pros in the Slack chat there as well in the NASCAR Talk channel. I will make sure to announce all those techs, anyone that's going to the rear. And if anyone goes to the rear, just want to explain this every week because I do get questions every week. After qualifying order has been set. So if you see qualifying order on the sheet, it's already set the day before the race, which it always is. We on any of these where there's no practice or qualifying, which is like 90% of the races this year, we usually get the starting order for the race on Thursday or Wednesday actually, and we get the DK pricing either late Wednesday night or early Thursday morning. So once that qualifying is set, if anyone goes to the rear on pace laps because of inspection issues on race day, it's always they keep their starting position for fantasy. So for instance, Martin Truex Jr. gets dinged here today. He keeps that first starting position for fantasy, but starts at the rear, which is 38th. He starts with a minus 37 points. Keep that in mind. Anytime a driver goes to the rear for an engine change, a failure of inspection twice, fail inspection twice, engine change, backup car, anything after qualifying is set, they keep their fantasy starting position, but start from the rear of the race on the pace lap to start the race. Keep that in mind. I just wanted to explain that a little bit further. That does happen every single race. Haley, down here at 34th. Honestly, Corey LaJoie is the lowest I'm going, starting 36th. Haley gives you less place differential upside over LaJoie. He's only $300 cheaper or sorry, $500 cheaper, and he doesn't have any experience here in a Cup car. Really concerns me. I want to go look. He was decent in Xfinity. I want to go look at his races here. 6th, 2019, he was 10th, 17th, and then 2020, he was 2nd and 6th. That's in the Xfinity. He led 51 laps in that first race, so he finished, or no, Bell was out in that race. That wasn't the one that Bell won. So he looked good in that first race in Xfinity, but if it's between LaJoie kind of in that same price range, I could see going for Haley on a, if you're building a 20 max, you want to throw him in one, maybe two tops. That gives you 10% exposure. I think that's fine to pivot off of Corey LaJoie. Even Ryan Preece starting 25th. I don't mind starting 25th. He's got 20th place finishes here at this track in 2 of his last 3 finishes. And a 20th place finish here would kind of put him right around that 5.5x. So Preece and LaJoie are definitely my favorites here. Haley would be more of like a leverage pivot in a larger GPP if you're playing that. I wouldn't use it in cash games at all. I just don't see the safety there at all. I kind of see him finishing in that 30th to 35th range. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go with Smithley in there as well. So that's 6 drivers. So that, those are 6 drivers I think are probably going to finish at last. So that gives Haley kind of a floor of 32nd. If you look at it that way, if you think Smithley and McLeod and Down finish at the back, we've got Haley as 32nd kind of as his floor should nothing happen to him early and he finishes ahead of these other guys. 32nd isn't enough for me, even at 5,000. Just go look at it here. 32nd place puts us right in that, 11 points. That's just not enough for Haley to kind of hit that 5x. We need that 25 points. We need a 26th place finish out of him. I just think that's kind of reaching for him when we have Preece and LaJoie there with, a lot more safety. So that's the way I look at Haley today. Yeah, at Bob Proctor's Twitter. That's where I follow. And he posts the tech when it comes up. He's not at the track right now due to COVID, I believe, but he is reporting on all of it. So he will have that out, like I said, about 90 to 120 minutes before the race with all that tech up. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Yeah, definitely. There were some issues at the start trying to get things going. Not on this exact feed. I had to restart the video a couple times. Thank you all for your patience. I see there's 50 plus people in here now. Really appreciate it. If you go ahead and like the video, that really helps the algorithm, helps spread the video to more people. I really appreciate it. And if you like the content, I'm here every Sunday talking DFS NASCAR. Me and Dane. Dane's busy on Sundays now because with the time change that kind of separated our schedules a little bit. So what we're going to try and do, I'm going to keep the live show every Sunday. Or Saturday if the race is on Saturday. But what I'm going to try and do with Dane, we're going to try and do a preview show like on after salaries and odds have been out. So like a Thursday night or Friday evening type thing, just so we can get his thoughts in here as well, because he's been really crushing it as well. And we like going back and forth because we don't always think the same. This week we are. I know Truex is his core play. He's going to have Corey LaJoie in his core lineup. Those are his top 2. Looking at different price ranges, points per dollar wise. And then he's kind of looking at a second dominator. He mentioned Logano. I know Logano was in there for me as well. So to check out Dane's stuff, definitely head over to Roto Pros. You can grab a free trial over there and get into chat. Dane provides all of his thoughts in the NASCAR chat over there. If you want to talk MME, which is like your multi-entering large GPPs like 20 max, 150 max, hit Kenny up. He is absolutely amazing across any sports. He can help you in how to build your core and how to go ahead and build those lineups. If you use an optimizer, he uses those sometimes as well. He's very good at setting his rules so that when you hit optimize, it's only spitting out the lineups that you want. It's absolutely amazing. You can learn a lot from him as well. That's over at rotopros.com, and you can grab a free trial today. Okay, back to the race here. We talked about Haley. We talked about some of my top guys down here at the bottom. So generally what I'm looking for is my dominators from the top 10. I'm looking at 2 drivers in this top tier, whether that be 10K and up or not. I think in terms of ownership, we see Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski, probably in the top 3. I think Keselowski just because of that starting position. I think we probably see Danny Hamlin and Logano in there. And then it's going to be close, I think, between your Larson, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, and Kevin Harvick. Ryan Blaney's had a lot of struggles here. Alex Bowman has gotten better. It is really good to see that top 10. I talked about liking him a lot more than Cindric. I think Cindric does take on some ownership as well, starting 38th. People just see that place differential and flock to it. This is why I use the fantasy matrix each and every week. It just leads me to conclusions on what a driver's floor and upside is. We know how many points we're going to need generally out of a driver to get us into those GPP top 10s, top 5s, even top 50s in a GPP to try and, more than 2x your money, like 3, 4, 5, 10x your money. We know that we need 6, 7, 8x out of our entire lineup. Where that comes from, it really depends. Like if you get Martin Truex Jr. leading, I said I could definitely see him leading 200 laps. If you go ahead and see Truex leading 200 laps, we're talking about 120 plus fantasy points, possibly depending on how many fast laps he gets. So you're going to get that, say 10x out of him. We don't necessarily need 5x out of the rest of our lineup, if that makes sense. We generally need 6 to 10x out of our entire lineup. So how you break that down, that's where I use the fantasy matrix to kind of figure that out. So in my lineup builds where I think Truex is going to dominate, I don't necessarily calculate for 5x when I'm looking at my LaJoies, my Preece, my Suarez, my Custer. I can tell myself now in my rules that I can deal with a 4x outcome from that driver because I'm expecting 7 to 10x from Truex and 6 to 8x from Logano, and I have those as my core, so I can take a little bit less from my value guys down at the bottom. These are just some things I think about when I'm building my cores, when I'm making my lineups, and I do build my 20 max by hand, so I do have to have these thoughts in my head when I am building my lineups, one by one. But generally, I try and make it as easy as possible, and like I said, I'll put Truex and Logano together, or Truex and Harvick together, or whoever your 2 or 3 drivers are that you really, really, really like this week. I'll put them together and run them 10 times. And just mixing in those other 3 guys, those other 3 spots. And like I said, keeping those guys between 25 and 40% exposure and not, say, 2 of them together in 8 of those 10 lineups. I don't want to have all that overlap in there as well because one driver, again, can ruin your entire lineup. I know that can happen with your top tier guys, but generally the risk factor with your Truex, Logano, Hamlin, any of these top tier guys is a lot less than these mid to low range punt guys. So keep that in mind as well. This is how I go about building my lineups. Like when I'm done this video, I've already reserved my 20 max. I'm going to go in and start building it. And this is the things I think about the whole entire time while I'm building, just to ensure that I have the best shot each and every week. So when my core goes good, I win. Because when you start getting in a hurry and you just start plucking names off the DraftKings list, that is going to lead to a lot of little tiny DraftKings circles all the way to the left when you're looking at your app on Sunday afternoon. I know this because it's happened to me a lot. I'll go and do 20 max and I'll do 10 really, really good lineups and I'm confident in. I get busy just doing, NHL, NBA, updating old NASCAR, getting ready for PGA next week, all that kind of stuff. I get busy and I get rushed. I'll start building lineups, and this is something I used to do. I don't do it anymore. I've changed this habit, is I will just rush my way through and just start clicking drivers. Okay, I like this guy and this guy and this guy, not really looking at the lineups I've already built and seeing, okay, well, now I've got, 40% only, which is great, of Corey LaJoie, but now I've got LaJoie and Suarez of those 40% of lineups, say that's 8 lineups, I've got him and Suarez in 7 of them, not paying attention whatsoever, just kind of clicking names, finishing off the last 10 lineups. That's great if you get crunched and you have to finish them because they are reserved, but definitely I've found when I've started taking my time, kind of after Daytona is when I got into this new routine of the 20 max. It's been a lot better. It's been trending. My bad weeks now are, if we're looking at the $4 20 max, which I am going to pop over to DraftKings now. This is the $4 20 max I go in, the Chrome Horn every week, so that's $80. My bad weeks now are, losing half of that. So negative 40 on the week. I'll get 40 back kind of thing. Somewhere in between that and breaking even is kind of what I'm expecting every week. But now I have a way better chance of winning. I've had a couple weeks where I've 2-3x'd and just missed one driver away from some takedowns, which I was not having that like for most of last year when I was, either running 3 max or I was just every week was different for me, running cash games this week and 3 max that week and 5 max next week. And then I'd enter a 20 max, but only put 5 lineups in. It was really all over the place for me. So that's where these rules have got me going really good here. So I just we'll just build a quick lineup here. say those are my top two dominators. We come down here and we grab LaJoy. See how this looks here. Leaves you 7,400 left over when you've got those three drivers in there. So that's usually what I'll do is if I take two drivers from the top tier, I now am jumping down and grabbing a value driver just to see where the rest of my lineup sits in terms of average salary remaining. 7,400. Talked about Newman. Definitely like him. So we've got all these guys. So now we can go to this range where I talked about Newman, Custer, Suarez, and Briscoe. This is where, if this is going to be your core three drivers and you're going to run 10 lineups now, I would maybe go, you could go two drivers from here if you want to build more of a stars and scrubs. So Briscoe and Suarez, and then we jump up and we talked about Alex Bowman. So there's one. And then you could go back down to that same range, Briscoe and Suarez. Let's go Newman and Suarez now. And then we jump up and we can grab Cindric if you believe in Cindric. Don't have him in my player pool. I would probably jump down to a Kurt Busch. I feel he's got a solid floor. He's starting 17th, experienced driver. You could also go back down here. If you wanted to get a little crazy, like with the Stenhouse upside, you could go him and Custer, just kind of mix them in, and that's how I'm going to build my 10 lineups. And then for my second core, say you're really heavy and you want, so that's only 50%. If you build 10 lineups in your 10 max with Truex, that's 50%. I want, say, two more. I'm going to go, and even when I do that, if you separate it and you put them into tiers and you've got Truex and then Logano just a little bit below, you could also go Truex and Logano and LaJoy in, say, 6 lineups, remove Logano and put in another guy, so a pivot, which I like Kyle Busch for GPP. So now you've got Truex, Busch, and LaJoy as a pivot, and that completes your 4 of the 10 with Truex as your top core driver, LaJoy as your top value play. So you've now got 50% of Truex and LaJoy. So in my second set of lineups, I will have like 0 LaJoy. Even in those first 10 with Truex, I might even make 1 or 2 pivots off LaJoy, just because I don't really want 50% of him. I don't want him ruining my whole thing. I kind of want 40%. So I might even take him out and only go like 9 out of the 20 in terms of that. But that's how I'm going to go about building. And then that second core, like I said, I might build 2. Probably going to go Truex in that one as well. Maybe Truex and Hamlin. I talked about Truex and Harvick. And then instead of LaJoy down here, I want to just go maybe down to this range and grab Suarez and Newman. So grab 2 of those guys and then run this. And instead of running this in 5, maybe run this in 2 or 3 because we've got Truex. And then we pop out Truex and we go do a pivot off of him, which would be like, say, Hamlin or Keselowski if you want, and then run that. Just a way to keep your lineups. This is a less diverse way of doing it. Obviously, some people like building 20 max and having a lot of diversity, a large player pool. Like I said, I generally, just to round this out here, finish up the video before I go answer some final questions, that is how I go about doing it. I like a less diverse, but if you like to go and have a large player pool, definitely go for it. But I'm going to keep mine kind of between that 12 to 15 drivers max for my 20 max builds. All right, going to go peek at some questions here, last questions, and then we are going to take off and start building some lineups. So I'm going to scroll up and just see if I missed anything. If I did and I didn't answer your question, throw it in there again right now, and I'll make sure to get it. And if for some reason I don't, or if I've missed it, if it didn't show up when I was trying to log in and something like that, hit me up. RotoPros Slack chat, Patreon Slack chat, DFSR in the chat, Twitter at Jaeger_bombs9. I am on Twitter. Hit me up anywhere. I will be on there. Okay. Jones. Yes, Liz. I do like Jones today. I will. I just wanted to look at him. I like his starting position of 30th. Definitely. He's going to take on some ownership. He's right there around. He's going to be a core driver at 7,600 starting 30th. I know it hasn't been a great start to the year for him, but he's got some finishes here in better equipment, obviously. 4th, top 15s in 5 straight before that 22nd last year. So if that 22nd last year is kind of something that we're looking at as a floor, that's 28 points. We need about 35 out of him. That's a 19th place finish. I think he can get inside that top 20. I think somewhere between that 19th and 22nd is his floor. I think he does have a little bit more upside, not a whole bunch, but he's not nearly as risky as, say, Bell or Austin Dillon where they start. I do like Dillon a little bit better than Bell. He's starting 11th. He's been better at this track. He's been super consistent at this track. And we're looking at about a 10th to 12th place finish out of him. I just think that's a little more safe than a, say, 19th, 20th out of Eric Jones. better equipment. He's been running better, and he's been better at this track generally in the equipment that he is in. So that's the way I look at that. Scrolling down. Corey LaJoy showing about 30% ownership. Yeah, that's on Cruncher FC, I'm assuming. Definitely. I haven't been able to get in and really put my rules in Fantasy Cruncher. I know Dane really likes Fantasy Cruncher for throwing in some rules. I think I'll get into that, once I really need NBA and NHL season to go, just so that we're, a little less busy and I have a little bit more time. But if he's going to be 30%, I'm definitely going to be settling in on that 40 to 50% range, which in that 20 max is going to be 8 to 10 lineups for me with LaJoy. I want to have a little bit more in the field should he have, a 25th place finish, 25th to 28th place finish today. Okay, well, that's all the questions in the list. Again, I want to thank all of you for coming on. 50 plus people consistently all show. That is absolutely amazing. That's why I keep doing these each and every week and really dealing with this internet issue that I just continually have here in Saskatchewan. But oh well, what do we do? You all stuck with me, so I really do appreciate that. Again, you can get my content in 3 different places. You can go to dfsr.com. I don't have a NASCAR article up right now. I will be getting back to that very, very soon, but you can get my cheat sheets over there. We also have a chat room. You can hit me up in there anytime. You can also head over to rotopros.com. You can hit me up there as well. We have a Slack chat set up. We have cores that we share. We have all of our top plays on the cheat sheet from any of these sites. If you subscribe to my content, I've got all my top plays highlighted on the sheet: core plays, secondary plays, value plays, GPP pivots, stuff like that. There's other tabs here that you don't see that are available as well for members, and you can get that over at rotopros.com as well. Like I said, and grab a free trial to a weekly, monthly, or yearly subscription. Come in and check it out, see what we have for free. We also have free rolls each and every week where you can win your subscription. We got a lot of people that, are grabbing those leaderboard points each and every week and earning their subscription each week. It's absolutely awesome. Chase the Elliott. There it is, James. Thanks a lot. I love that every week. Absolutely amazing. My 7-year-old daughter, Kaysen, absolutely agrees with you. Getting the thumbs up there for sure. Also, I didn't even mention it. You can head over to patreon.com/Jagerbombs and subscribe to my sheets as well as my Slack chat. I've got core plays in there as well. A lot of information in the Slack chat. A lot of changes coming soon. So stay tuned for that. Appreciate you all. Been doing this for over a year, almost a year and a half now. Can't believe it's been over a year, even just since this whole COVID thing last March. But here we are. Patreon.com/Jagerbombs. $5 a month American gets you access to one sport. $10 a month gets you access to all sports. I believe there's 7 to 9 different sports sheets out there right now that I'm covering, as well as the help with Ryan, Kenny, and Dane help me out with those as well. Absolutely amazing team we have working together. We've been together, almost 2 years, all of us. So absolutely amazing. This is why I do this. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Let's go build some lineups and stay tuned for those cores and all my top plays in the sheet. Good luck out there. Let's go get some green screens.